This is 5 times more intense than the cosmic radiation that Dr. Gene Parker proposes 5 meters of water shielding against. In late March 2008, Reuters reported that, quote, "Cosmic rays are so dangerous and so poorly understood that people are unlikely to get to Mars or even back to the Moon until better ways are found to protect astronauts," experts said Monday. And NASA is not properly funding the right experiments to find out how, the National Research Council committee said. One of the big issues is they have really cut funding for biological issues. Retired Space Shuttle astronaut James Van Hoften, who chaired the committee, said in a telephone interview. "It is tough on them when they don't have new money coming in. They are using old data," he said, including the research done on survivors of the nuclear bombings of Japan during World War II. Given today's knowledge and today's understanding of radiation protection, to put someone out in that type of environment would violate the current requirements that NASA has. The cosmic rays include galactic cosmic radiation, or GCR, and solar particles. You can put up very thick walls, and they just won't protect you from that, Van Hoften said. This James Van Hoften flew on 2 shuttle flights, one flown by Space Shuttle Challenger, the other flown by Space Shuttle Discovery. The former flight has 2 interesting factors that must be accounted for. First, among his crew was Francis Dick Scobie, command pilot of the ill-fated 51L mission.
Challenger, go at throttle up. Challenger, go at throttle up.
Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction.
Second, the flight that Van Hoften and Scobie flew together was the 41C mission, which passed the 500-kilometer limit. When discussing his flight with Scobie, Van Hoften states, "My introduction to space radiation came first-hand as a crew member aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger in April 1984. What the heck was that?" I blurted out after seeing what looked like a white laser passing quickly through my eyes, Van Hoften wrote in the introduction of the report. "Oh, that's just cosmic rays," said Pinky Nelson, my spacewalking partner and space physicist. The thought of extremely high-energy particles originating from distant events passing easily through the space station and subsequently through my head made me think that this cannot be all that healthy. The truth of the matter is that it is not. The white laser passing through his eyes that Van Hoften refers to is a phenomenon that has become more professionally known as light flashes. This phenomenon was predicted as early as the 1950s and is a result of cosmic radiation exciting the retina. It seems that Van Hoften is not the only one who believes seeing these lights is unhealthy. On page 226 of Prospects for Interstellar Travel, Malden writes,
"Another effect of cosmic particles is permanent damage to retina and neural cells, which do not replace themselves. At the rate astronauts saw flashes in their eyes in unshielded spacecraft, they could lose most vision and brain function in a few years."
Malden doesn't specify which unshielded astronauts saw these flashes. But interestingly, we do have the testimonies of 2 Apollo astronauts.
The space shuttle went to 365 miles a few years ago. Because I worked in news. I saw CNN. They said that the radiation belts surrounding Earth are more dangerous than previously believed because the astronauts saw shooting stars with their eyes closed. Just when they got within 600.
Radiation belt. We saw shooting stars, but they're not shooting stars from with your eyes closed, although they look like it. If you're out in space beyond the Van Allen belt and probably within the Van Allen belt, and close your eyes and just pay attention. You don't notice it unless you pay attention. Then all of a sudden you'll see a little flash like a shooting star, except it's like that. There goes one this way. Then one just blossoms. And then not that fast. Maybe you wait 3 minutes or 2 minutes and one goes whoosh. And what's happening is cosmic rays are hitting the back of your eye and exciting those sensors in the back of your eye. So that's what you see. And they got high enough apparently to close it. My guess is in Earth orbit, if you closed your eyes and just paid attention, that you would see them.
The first time they were seen was when they went to 365 miles.
Yes.
That's 650 miles below or away from the radiation.
Yeah, see, it's below. My guess if they just did it tonight. But see, if you're just going to sleep or closing your eyes or it's dark, you don't notice them. But if you'll close your eyes and pay attention, which we had an experiment to do, by the way, then you see them whistling by. Not on our mission, by the way, they hadn't been discovered yet. I saw them one day on the moon. It wasn't dark, and it was kind of dark, and I saw this flash of light, and it looked like it was on the moon, but really it wasn't. It was a flash of light in my eye.
Our next testimony comes from Buzz Aldrin of the previous mission, Apollo 11. The following clip is from the interview he gave for the documentary Apollo 11: The Untold Story.
I remembered as I began to make an attempt to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I would see a flash somewhere, and before I could turn or get my eye on the flash, it was gone. Now, the first impression was, well, something just penetrated the inside of the spacecraft. And so I asked Neil and Mike, and Neil said, yeah, I saw about 100 of them.
For the crew, the flashes were far more worrying than the mystery UFO. In the vacuum of space, anything penetrating the spacecraft could spell disaster. On his return, Aldrin reported them to NASA.
The conclusion was that they're high Z particles, Z meaning a heavy particle at high velocity, that penetrate the spacecraft, penetrate the individual, and cause some potential damage to nerve cells and brain cells, but only over a long period of time, evidently.
Even today, scientists don't truly understand the long-term effects of Z particles on the human body. Apollo 11 flew on, constantly bombarded by particles.
But see, if you're just going to sleep or closing your eyes or it's dark, you don't notice them.
As I began to make an attempt to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I would see a flash somewhere.
There goes one this way. Then one just blossoms, and then not that fast.
And before I could turn or get my eye on the flash, it was gone.
These testimonies are so contradictory, you'd think these men were discussing two completely different phenomena. But the most revealing of these two interviews is the question of who saw the lights first.
And so I asked Neil and Mike, and Neil said, yeah, I saw about 100 of them.
Not on our mission, by the way, they hadn't been discovered yet.
Another shuttle flight in which these lights were spotted was John Glenn's return to flight aboard STS-95. These sightings aboard this flight were previously looked into by Bart Zabrell.
In 1998, the Space Shuttle flew to an altitude of 350 miles, one of its highest altitudes ever, hundreds of miles below the beginning of a field of radiation that was so severe that the astronauts inside of their shielded spacecraft and inside of their shielded spacesuits saw flashes of light with their eyes shut that they described as shooting stars, due to radiation penetrating first the shuttle's shielding, then their spacesuit shielding, then their skulls, and finally the retinas of their closed eyes. As a result, CNN issued the following report noting NASA's unpredicted surprise. The radiation belt surrounding Earth may be more dangerous for spacewalking astronauts than previously believed. Scientists say the phenomena known as the Van Allen belts can spawn killer electrons when the Earth's magnetic field changes. These electrons that are being studied could have an important effect not only on satellites, which has happened in the past, but could also affect the astronauts by creating large doses of radiation that could influence their health. The electrons can penetrate through various materials, including spacesuits, and can pass through, in fact, the walls of the space station, and can create high charges deep inside of these objects.